welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I was going to do a little something different. I thought we'd do a crossover video, since I occasionally have a situation where I have a file and I don't have a handle for it. And so I recently got a wood lathe, and I happen to have a few old pieces of furniture like this that are broken off of old chairs that were broken. And so I thought, hey, we'll do a crossover video. I also have a woodworking channel because I'm kind of an amateur woodworker. So you can watch, if you like watching lathe videos, this should be kind of fun for you. It's kind of soothing to watch the wood coming off when you're using a lathe. And I'll show you how to make some handles for your files. Alright, well I'm in my garage now, and I got this this leg of a chair that we discarded a while back, and I trimmed it down a little bit this way, a little bit this way, and I took out the little plastic thing that was in the end of this, and so we can put it in the lathe, and I'll do that next. But I wanted to show you different kinds of handles. This is the kind of typical store-bought file handle. For my hand, they're a little bit on the small side, so I like to make a little bit bigger handle. This is one I made a little while back, and for me, I get a better grip and stronger grip on it when it's got a little bit bigger handle. So I'm probably going to make them a little bit bigger than this one, and then this little strip that goes around it we'll make either out of silver or copper after we're done making the handle on the lathe here. So we'll get going on that. Well, hopefully with the angle we got that you can actually see what's going on here. This is a chuck that's designed to clamp down, usually on what's called a tenon on a bowl, where you cut kind of an angled little round portion into it. You can either do it internally or have an external one on the bowl itself that fits in here, and then you clamp it down. But it also works when you want to clamp something that's relatively square. So we'll put this in this end here. This end is called the live center, and it spins like this, but what we'll do is this thing which moves here slides back and forth. I've kind of pushed it over as far as it would go here, and then I'm going to crank this tight with this little wheel. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's much like the wheel on this one. You can't see that either, probably. So tighten it up pretty good so this thing feels secure. And then this will tighten this down so it won't vibrate itself loose here. So, all right. So the first step is going to be getting it round along the whole length, and then I'll measure out. I'll probably use this as a guide for how long I want them to be. I'll be able to get a couple of them out of this probably. So we shall see. So the big scary thing with lathes is you don't want something flying off of it when it's spinning really quickly and hitting you in the head. So when I am doing this, I'm going to be wearing a little helmet thing with a face shield, so I won't really be able to talk during the process. So mostly I'll just do the process and I'll explain afterwards. So incidentally, my favorite part of the lathe is this little section here. And the reason it's my favorite part is because it's called the banjo, and I don't know why, but that makes me laugh. So, and the banjo is where the tool rest goes into. So, we kind of position it where we want it to be, in theory. Before you start, though, you always want to spin it this way to make sure it's not going to hit anything. Okay. Alright, I'm going to mask up and put my helmet on, and then we'll get started. If you've never seen these before, these are Japanese pull saws, and they're wonderful. They cut so nicely. So if you don't have one of these and you do woodwork, I'd recommend getting one of these. It's great for making nice straight cuts. I'm going to do this one off camera, but here's the first one, and I'll drill a hole right down the center there. You could do it on the lathe here. If I'd done it the opposite direction, I can put a drill bit in here and drill it straight in there, but I can just use a hand drill to do it too, and that's where the file will go. But this metal piece that we need to make downstairs to offer support, what it does is it keeps this from splitting when you jam that file handle or file blade into there. If you don't have some kind of metal support around it, it's going to split the wood. So I'll jam a piece of metal that goes all the way around here after I solder it closed downstairs. So that's our next step. First and foremost, please disregard my messed up hair from wearing that little helmet thing on my head. But I have these two file handles that I made. You'll notice they're not exactly alike because I kind of eyeballed them. But it doesn't really matter. We need to make the little metal sheath that goes around the outside of this to keep it from splitting. And this time, I've used silver before. Some people use copper plumbing pipe, and then you can just cut it to exactly the right size and then slide it down over there. I'm going to make some out of brass here. I have this brass. This is probably 20 gauge, maybe. So cut some of this off, but I think to start with, let's make a mark at how wide it is. Or how wide it needs to be, I should say, for this piece of wood here. Right there. Now, let's find my ruler. So it's pretty close to a half inch, about a half inch wide. So I'm just going to call it a half inch. Just kind of scribed a little line there. But to find out exactly how long of a piece we need, the easiest way is just to wrap a piece of paper around this. So, overlaps right. What about there? File this so it's not quite so sharp. I'm going to solder this on the inside so there's not a lot of silver color on the outside here, since I'm using hard silver solder. That's probably enough. Probably ought to move these a little further away. That looks alright. Let's put it for a bit. And then I'll come back and I'll round that out, clean it up a little bit, polish it, and then we'll pound it down onto the pound it right down onto the end of this thing so it's tight, and then I can drill a hole there and we'll seat the file. It'll be ready to go. I'll probably put a little bit of butcher block oil on here too to just keep the handle from drying out. So, alright, so we'll stop there while that's pickling for a little bit. As you can see, my hair is getting further and further messed up, so I apologize for that. But I do have this thing pickled and polished up a little bit on the polishing wheel. It's got a nice brass ring here. I was thinking it might be kind of nice to have a hammered look though, so I might put it on the mandrel here and do a little peening. But what I'll do is I'll just basically I kind of like adding some texture to things once in a while, so alright, so now the trick is getting this over this thing here. So you can probably just use a plastic container or so my last step will just be to, like I did on this one, drill a hole in there, and then I'll stick a file in there, and usually I set the file on a countertop or something and use the plastic hammer to pound it down on there, but this little brass thing on here will prevent that from splitting, like I said earlier. So that's one way to upcycle an old chair leg if you get the inclination. I think I'm going to start a section on my YouTube channel that talks about creating your own tools, because oftentimes you can't find the tool to do exactly the job you want, and you need to create something from scratch that'll do the trick for you. So, but this is an easy way to use up some scrap wood and make yourself save yourself a little money buying these. So you can also make them to your specs then. I hope you found that interesting and enjoyable. If you did, consider liking this video, and if you would, subscribe to my woodworking, actually I think it'll be up here. I always point at the wrong spot where the cards go, but up here there will be a link to my woodworking channel, but also subscribe to my silversmithing channel if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you get updates when I add something new. So thanks again, happy silversmithing.